Hello and greetings once again from Burbank, California, here at the Blizzard Arena. It's day 2 of the open stage for the HGC Finals. And, you know, we're getting warmed up here. We had our first match, second one coming up here. First match, we saw Tempest take a 2-0 victory over Mind Freak from Australia. Our next match coming up, HeroesHearth Esports for you North American fans, the #1 seed. Going to be taking on Leftovers from EU. And I got to give a quick shout out to all my homies here in the live audience. Thank you so much for being here. I saw that Reddit post. I saw that. You guys are awesome. Thanks so much. If you're local, get down here. It's an awesome time. We're going to have a great time this weekend. We're here all the way through Sunday. So if you're close by, come see us. It's going to be a good time. All right, let's get into match number 2. I'm going to throw it over to Gillyweed at the desk with our analysts.
Thanks so much, Kevin. We've got NA versus EU for the first time this tournament coming at you. Leftovers versus HeroesHearth Esports. It's going to be a good time, and to make sure, we've got a balanced desk.
I just realized I'm heavily outnumbered here.
Balanced desk. How you doing, Dred?
I'm doing all right. You know, I'm excited to be able to see what North America has here, because though we did get some signs of Tempo Storm and what their thought processes are, I feel like they're a little bit different than HeroesHearth Esports. They have been far more comfortable to have that NA flavor than HHE. So what does that look like now going over against Leftovers, who ended up dropping a game to the 1 yesterday?
And of course, our last match, Tempest gets a 2-0 win over Mind Freak. Really important for Team Tempest after some struggles yesterday, but showing that they're ready and raring to go, Kaldor.
Yeah, they're definitely one of the tough opponents to meet in the group, and with the performance today, they already said that yesterday was a fluke, and from now on we are going to make sure we're not going to drop any maps.
All I have to say is, where was my tank Brightwing?
Yeah, you know, I feel like that we got it once on the secondary stream, but we haven't gotten into the primary yet, but I'm sure Fat will be able to find a way to make that happen.
I can tell you what happened there. I mean, he picked it, he realized it's bad, and then he said like, okay, not anymore.
Okay, that's not true. You don't know that for sure. We'll have to get, you know what we can do is we can just replace you with Fat94, and then we can find out for reals. I think that sounds like a great idea. Let's take a look at the standings today. I do. We're going to take a look at the standings of today. And there you have it. Tempest jumps all the way up to the top, though we have so many more matches of Group B to go. HeroesHearth Esports versus Leftovers are next, and Leftovers, you were talking about it before, definitely need to at least tie this match.
Yeah, exactly. They didn't have the start into the tournament that they really wanted. First of all, of course, the loss against Tempest here, where they were hoping to at least get one map in a look close, and then we are also in the same situation with them now losing a map against the 1, which is basically the theme of the tournament so far. At this point, they need to get maps, and against HeroesHearth, a 2-0 would be great, but at least a map win has to happen for them if they want to get a little bit of peace of mind.
Dred, we've been talking about the 1 all day so far. I would love to know, do you feel like the 1 can keep this up, or are people starting to figure them out? Because the point that eStar started having trouble was when people figured them out. It just happened to be after they made it to the bracket stage.
I think that they have a little bit more than maybe some of the other Chinese representatives, and the fact that mechanically, individually, I think they're a very, very good team. I think one of the biggest struggles that they have is finding ways to work as a cohesive unit. And so because of that, I think that they have that opportunity to always have that outplay and get that win in the end in surprise teams. But overall, I don't think they have the chance to be able to carry it throughout the entirety of the tournament.
We'll see the 1 take on Team Dignitas, and what a story that would be if they could continue the 1-1 streak to go for the 1. Just got to say that as many times as I can. HeroesHearth Esports, though, they're going to be running the European Gauntlet, not only going up against Leftovers next, but they will also later on take on Team Dignitas. Going to be a fun day.
Yeah, definitely will be. I'm looking forward to it.
Me too. I like that we're being silent now. Yeah, you've already said too much about Brightwing. You got to rein it in.
I need to be careful. If I'm cheeky here, I get a slap from the left. If I turn around, the same thing happens. So I'm really in dangerous waters.
Yeah, we've got you flanked.
Nice, yeah.
Dred, any of those matches stand out to you in particular that you're looking forward to?
Honestly, I think this is the one I'm looking to the most. I think there's a lot of questions when it comes to HeroesHearth Esports, and then now with the performance we got out of Leftovers, I think there's a lot of question marks too. We know that this was a team that was probably, at least on the side of Leftovers, likely to have a large amount of snowball, get that momentum, be able to carry throughout the tournament. But early on, as Calder already alluded to, they haven't had the kickstart that maybe they want. And we all know they might be able to pick it up, but what if this is maybe the tournament where that free mindset is not necessarily there because they have had success in the past.
Well, let's keep this ball rolling then and start talking more about the Leftovers as we get into this second match of the day. Both of these teams' mentality is oh so important. In fact, Crowan actually said that, or I think it was Ishbu, that he got some advice from Mopsio about the importance of the mentality that you approach a tournament with, and we know that it is very important for the Leftovers and how they approach a tournament.
One of the problems with them is that they want to be the team that has fun because they feel as long as they enjoy the games and are really having fun playing, they do extremely well. But at the same time, you're all of a sudden starting to have some pressure on you since everyone realizes how good you are. And that also gets into the player's head as well, where their own expectations towards the tournament are just getting bigger and bigger. And that puts pressure on them that they didn't have to deal with so far. Western Clash, at some point, Mopsio even said, listen, some of my boys are starting to realize that we can go far in this tournament, and they're starting to get shaky. I need to bring them down again. And that's what he has to continue here as well, to make sure that they're not getting into their own heads.
Do we feel like that's what the Lily and Cassia were about? Because, you know, we talked about possible underestimation of the one. At the same time, I saw Mopsio tweet that it wasn't underestimation and that it was a lot more about just the one being willing to punish.
I do think a little bit of it is the ability to have that kind of, you know, loose mindset that we get from Leftovers, but I also think that they genuinely believed within the composition to a certain level as well here. And I guess when looking at the overall gameplay of Leftovers, the one thing that seems amiss when they have those struggles against the one, it felt like their DAB and Blakidney's flanks towards the backline were just non-existent. They were taking such left to right team fights that I think it really set down Leftovers' flavor heavily.
Yeah, it's a matter of can they stick to their same style or do they have to adapt to a different style for Leftovers. They're definitely set in that. But let's talk about HeroesHearth now because, you know, there's been a pressure moment that you would think for them in that they've had to replace Arthlon, which is the first time anyone from this team has left, and yet, at the same time, it does relieve a lot of pressure of expectations for them. They went to a sort of boot camp, but it was a lot more about team building. They even did an escape room where they got complimented on their shot calling of the escape room, which is pretty darn cool. Do you think this is going to positively affect them, maybe let them do better at this LAN?
It could definitely be the case, and it feels so far talking to the team that Homie fits in really well. And especially, I mean, it's a really nice bunch of guys either way, especially when you have someone like BBJ, who in my opinion is still the biggest trash talker on the team, immediately is saying like, you know guys, if it doesn't work out, we can always blame it on Homie, it's fine. So.
Yeah, what I love about how they approached bringing in Hami is not about just trying to cookie cutter fit him into Arthlon's role. It was about what can we bring in that are Hami specific picks that allow him to maybe give us a different way of looking at the game that we couldn't have with Arthlon.
And I think that's really important, not only because not only does that allow Homicidal to feel comfortable like he is a respected player and has an opportunity to shine within this roster, but I think it's very important to look at what they lose by losing Arthlon. There is a lot of late to mid-game decisions where Arth was very good at splitting off-lane pressure and making you answer really tough questions. And if you lose that element of your gameplay and your shot calling, you have to adjust your entire post 10-minute mark decision making as a roster. So it's important not only for Homicidal to feel great, but I think for the team to even look like an actual unit.
And they totally recognize that. They said we need to readjust all of our mentality about how we look at the game. We need to understand that we need to, as a group, answer those situations that Arthlon was good at, but then at the same time, we can be stronger maybe as a 5-man unit because a lot of that did put them in 1-4 situations. I'm excited to see how it works out for them, especially versus Leftovers here, a strong team. Both these teams definitely needing wins, more wins on the board if they're going to make it out of the group. So let's get it going with the Battleground pool. We've got bans on Infernal Shrines and Dragonshire, and then Battlefield of Eternity picked for Leftovers. No surprise.
Yeah, none at all. This is a map that they absolutely love to play. They are good here too. It's also a map that caters towards their playstyle. Opening the match up with it is going to be great for them. They feel comfortable here. But on the other hand, if HeroesHearth can shut them down right away, that would, of course, also put it then into confidence that they have approaching this match.
Yeah, and both of these teams have already shown some patented styles on Battlefield of Eternity. This is where we saw the Cassia and the Lily, and this is also where solo support Abathur came back in on the alternate stream match versus Mind Freak. Yeah,
and that's something that is probably going to come to light here, but I do want to raise the point that North America is very much not fond of Battlefield of Eternity. So the fact that we have Leftovers very comfortable on the battlefield and being able to pick it up here, I think that's a huge advantage that they're going to have going into this series, and more importantly, the drafting.
Yeah, the drafting in particular, I mean, Diablo banned out immediately. Snap first ban on the side of HeroesHearth makes a lot of sense. Mopsio loves to run the hero at the Western Clash. He dominated with it. And even with that Lily pick, you know, the 16 talent just emphasizing so much more how deep Diablo can go because of that extra percentage health that he gains through it. So it puts Mopsio in a position where he can be hyper-aggressive on the tank role. And that's something that HeroesHearth wants to shut down immediately.
Genji normally has been in a lot of bans, but giving that up in order to make sure that solo support Abathur is not an option for HeroesHearth, which they do like to run Genji with too. And then also taking away Garrosh, we're yet again seeing that adjustment of Diablo versus Garrosh. Diablo's win rate is not good coming in today. He's one of the highest picked, but likely because Garrosh is banned so much. And then only winning a quarter of his games yesterday. But Leftovers, that allows them to have the Hanzo, which has been big for Crone in the past, especially on this map, and Deckard Cain.
I think that's a really important thing to point out here is HeroesHearth Esports, when they do play Battlefield of Eternity, typically the standard kind of racing protocol is the focus. And if not, it's that Abathur split soaking, split up the team fight and get the advantage. Genji caters to that playstyle, but it doesn't really play to the overall playstyle that we typically know from HeroesHearth Esports. So in my mind, not getting the first pick Hanzo and going with the Genji is a very bold statement here from this team.
At the same time, though, also the Deckard Cain pick on the side of the Leftovers, just another pick where Lynx absolutely excels with it. It's a comfort pick for them. They had a chance to maybe move into Tyrande, didn't make that move. They rely heavily on Deckard Cain. But they are also absolutely okay if HeroesHearth picks the hero up and try to meet them in the race, because they know you can't cleanse out those roots in the slow. So that's in a particular situation where they love to playing into it. And Link just loves that hero. If he gets Deckard, he's always in a position where he's like, okay, boys, I got this.
I think this team, Leftovers, is the best team in the world at setting up Link for success once he gets bottomless flasks. Because they are always going to the objective early, setting up, making sure that they're all in position. It's wonderful to see from them. But no Tyrande to add to that damage from Li Ming. Li Ming is going to try to help with the poke race a bit more. And now we see Greymane and Blaze, Leftovers, have a lot to do with the Immortal.
The ban, on the other hand, this is something that we're going to continue to see throughout the tournament. Tracer bans against DAB. No matter if it's meta or not, you want to make sure that he doesn't get that hero. He has proven time and time again how successful he is. And, well, we get the Brightwing. Not on the tank position, though.
We get ourselves the Brightwing here, but we have to raise some concerns. First of all, the one thing to be looking at
First of all,
here,
it's Brightwing, I agree.
That's not what the concern is. It's the fact that there's a bunker Blaze sitting on the other side with a double reset composition going into it, and it's only furthered in the fact that they commit to the Zeratul Brightwing. This is a all-in, get the kill. When the panic moment hits, we void, we isolate, we kill, and at that point, hopefully we snowball the remainder of the team fight. That's really good and great once you hit 10s. But 10s are so far away at this point in time. How are you able to deal with the early game, especially because Hanzo comes on at the 7 mark, and the macro game is far and above advantage here of Leftovers. So I think that, though I like the composition from HeroesHearth and it's in their face, so far from what we knew from them in the past, it doesn't fit to their playstyle. And overall, I feel like Leftovers has to feel comfortable.
I mean, the confidence that HeroesHearth this already shows, they're basically saying, we are going to get that kill and we're going to get it quick. And they have to, because if they fail to get the kill, they're in trouble. But they said in the interviews, what makes a team great is to have the perfect coordination. And that's what they need to make this work.
Well, I'm excited to see how it works out for them, for obvious reasons. So let's head over to the casters. I can't even talk. I'm so excited. You guys take it away.
One of the great things about coming to BlizzCon is we can see so many different metas really unfold in front of us, but one of the best things is North America versus Europe, and I'm so happy to be with this guy. Jay, how you ready for this match?
Did it type. We talked at breakfast, we talked before we got up here, and then we see the drafts. It couldn't get more exciting. I was like, man, as long as it's not something slow like Sergeant Hammer, HeroesHearth is like, don't worry, we got this with the Genji Zeratul. It's awesome, man.
I was certainly worried that we would see North America be a little bit more hesitant against Europe, or at least Leftovers who love to bring these team fights, but HHE is here to match them apparently, bringing in the Brightwing, looking for that aggressive play, and a few resets too with Genji and Li Ming.
Well, you said the meta unfolding. Those wings are unfolding because there's a Brightwing in this game. I'm excited for this. HeroesHearth, it will be Crowan on that Genji. BBJ will be on the Gilly favorite of Brightwing. McIntyre, that's going to be flanking on that Zeratul. Ishbu diving in, trying to get things started. Hami, we didn't know what role he was going to play. He's actually going to be on the Li Ming this game, Trixler.
That's going to be a very important one, especially when you have a Crowan on your team. You're going to see him playing Li Ming, but here on the right side, in the red, Mopsio and ETC, Link to play Deckard Cain, Black Kidney on Greymane, DAB on Hanzo, and Bodyboss on Blaze. And this is a great sign here for the Leftovers. I'm not going to lie, I was a little bit disappointed with their performance yesterday. Granted, they fell down to Dignitas 2-0. you can see that happening, but their match against the one that Lily picked on BOE really threw me for a loop, and they only have 3 more matches left in this group. They need to get wins, so them pulling out these favorites of theirs is something that I needed to see.
Well, HeroesHearth is going to dictate the pace for the first few seconds as they get some early push. That will bring up Blakitny, as well as Link looks to be rotating up. We'll see how long HeroesHearth sticks around. With this composition, it's really hard to say they're going to play this way or they're going to play that way. Clearly, they're going to be looking for kills. It's just a matter of how quickly can they rotate, how much information does Leftovers have. I mean, an ETC is great and all, Trixler, but he's one of the squishier tanks that we have. If they get the right type of CC lockdown on him, he could also be a liability.
Yeah, he's certainly one of those heroes that has now become one of these relegated anti-divers, knocking people back when they come in for the engage, trying to watch for Genji to overstep, try to power slide him in the back line so you can focus him down. I do like how HeroesHearth opened up the map, though, by putting 3 in the top lane. They forced Leftovers to respawn to them in some way, and that allowed for them to find a way for someone to get picked off that was rotating in, but Leftovers, realizing the threat that is available here for HeroesHearth, played it safe. Crowan going for a bit of a cheeky play here.
This feels like I'm in one of my brawls right now, where it's like, guys, they're on the well, and then all of a sudden you're like, well, this is competitive. We actually can't respond to that to Genji, so that will go down. It's a point of contention that for a lot of teams, if you haven't seen this really started to spring up a lot in Korea this year. You use the Genji, has the mobility to get in and out. When you see those first Immortal phases, it's normally drop back, tap that well, because it's the closest point of retreat, it's the closest well. You take away one strength or one potential asset that you have for your team. It's nothing major, but it can have an impact in the right moment.
A lot of teams try to respond to that Genji by pulling maybe 1-2 people down and try and defend that well, but Leftovers say, okay, it's too late. We already realized the Genji's going to take the well, and they take the Merc Camp in the top instead. And that allows them to get some pressure here in the top lane. But this play in particular from Crowan by taking down that well is going to hurt the Leftovers. Leftovers are one of these teams that love to bounce back and forth in a team fight. They love having their taps available. They want to trade out resources. So that not being available is actually a massive play here for HeroesHearth here, so I'm hoping it's going to work out for them, as Leftovers around the middle of the Immortal phase is going to have a difficult time trading out.
Well, you said Immortal phase, it's time, because 30 seconds from now, we will get our first phase. Hanzo really picks up that power spike at level 7, does have the bonus damage at level 4. It's a matter of if it stalls out, which more recently, Trixler, it feels like some of these BOE games have stalled out a little longer, and when you're a Hanzo, you're more than willing to be like, I'm okay with biding my time. I'm okay with waiting until 7. But HeroesHearth, with their composition, they at any given moment, they can say, nah, we're going. And when you have that Zeratul Genji with a Brightwing to potentially phase shift in, it makes it a scarier prospect to push forward at all if you're Leftovers.
You would expect that aggression if you are Leftovers, and they'll be keeping an eye out for it. And someone that has to be watching for it is Mopsio, the tank. You want you to get your eyes on top of that Genji. You want to know where exactly Li Ming is. Zeratul is someone that you can kind of dance around until level 7 hits with that wormhole. So we're going to watch Mopsio and make sure that he is zoning well in the middle lane. In fact, he's actually grouping up here with Boss, and Leftovers are trying to race down this Immortal. They know they have the tools here, and as long as they keep an eye on the mentioned heroes, they should be fine.
That rotation by Leftovers, and that's a very nice one. I think that's one thing people are going to have to keep an eye on is Mopsio. Just that face melt into the stun. That's why Diablo can be so strong here, but Mopsio, one of the best at being aggressive and finding those small mistakes, finds that stun there. It doesn't amount to a lot now, but it could add up to more later. Nice blink out by McIntyre there.
That was close to it. McIntyre gets hit with that power slide. He does so. That's going to be a scatter arrow to his face, and Greymane hopping in to get the kill. The race continues for both of our teams, and it seems like just barely Leftovers might have the slight advantage. Greymane bringing in those auto attacks with the help of Hanzo will net them an Immortal with 2,800 shields.
Nothing crazy, but it's important to note that if minions are able to push with the Immortal, Li Ming landing skill shots on the Immortal is where your defense comes in. It's not like Genji is like, hey, look at me, I can defend an objective coming at me. So making sure to clear those minions, keep control over this, and that's an example right there. The minions aren't there yet, so Li Ming gets some early damage in on this Immortal for defense.
What I really enjoy about this Brightwing pick is that HeroesHearth is keeping Brightwing actually in the top lane, and Leftovers is known to have Bus come in for rotation and flank behind the fort and try to get a kill. Brightwing at any point can come in and help their teammates and
there it is.
provide healing. Here comes that flank from Bus, but Brightwing is too late. The moment moment that you see that Polyboss is gone, you clear out the backline minions and you make sure Brightwing there is in time. Because if not, Leftovers are going to take a kill. They do it time and time again on this battleground, and it gives them a fort.
That, I mean, you called it. It was picture perfect. Now they have a full level lead. Leftovers, you know, we've seen the Korean teams execute that for so long on various battlegrounds, but Leftovers added that to their repertoire, and that's what makes them so strong. Perfect rotation, and that's one of the things. Brightwing Trixler does not have that great of wave clear. The Blaze, however, he's like, look, fast clear. I'm not missing anything. We're actually doubling down on XP. We get the fort, we get the kill. I don't miss out on any minions, or very few at that. So very good job.
Leftovers having to deal with the fight though from HeroesHearth. As HeroesHearth fights back, and Nurek goes in, and Greymane gets locked down, so Black Kidney will be the first to fall for the Leftovers. Polyboss and Mopsio thinking about going for an engage. Can they hit this big jet propulsion? The answer is no. HeroesHearth splits up and says, let's back away.
Trixler, HeroesHearth, it feels like it's early in the game, but they needed that. They need to get their feet wet a little, get that first kill, but also that full level lead. When you look at that race towards 10 for the next Immortal, you do not want to get down to a Hanzo, because he's like, look, it's 10 to 9 3/4. I can use that small time that you're soaking for 10 to get half the Immortal down. That's how strong a Hanzo is on this map.
I'm actually just very excited to see that HeroesHearth isn't relaxed. Even after getting that kill against Greymane, they were very aware of what the strength of Leftovers was, and that's Mopsio following up a power slide off of a jet propulsion. If it hits 2 to 3 people, you know Leftovers will take that 4v5, and typically they get those kills. So HeroesHearth not playing relaxed, but they are hurting in the experience bar right now. About a half a level behind as we move towards that level 10. They'll have some room here to maybe force a fight or go to the halftime show, but as we continue to tick towards 10, they need to be aware of that.
Shaman camps will be spawning around the same time that the Immortals spawn C. Depending on the placement of this and the defensive nature of some of these teams, there's going to be the burrow charge in, the stun, the poly, the follow-up. Mopsio's like, look, that's all you got. It's time for me to go. He puts himself in position, doesn't have the backup, but very well played by Leftovers.
Okay, Immortal phase begins. Immediately Genji runs the top side here, starting to defend his Immortal with the help of Brightwing. Now looking at that Greymane, who is trying to retreat. Polyboss is going to help him out, and they should be able to back away. But again, that 10 is ever looming here. So HeroesHearth needs to make a play. Either find someone to fight or get on that Immortal. BBJ, though, eats a power slide.
Yeah, he's in there. He is in there deep, and you can see Zeratul is as well. He comes in. You get the Genji follow-up. They're looking for another one. Swift Strike goes through Polyboss. It's a 2-for-1 trade right now. Polymorph over onto Mopsio. The combo lands. That's going to be a triple now here for HeroesHearth. Excellent execution. Nice follow-up there from that back line of Crowan and Homicidal.
A very expected form of aggression from HeroesHearth Esports pays off, but I'm a little bit disappointed that Leftovers gave him that opportunity. The power slide onto a Brightwing before level 10 around their Immortal phase gives them the chance there for HeroesHearth to fight back, and they were able to nail that team by getting multiple kills, and Leftovers are now left with the consolation prize of grabbing their camp here to push in the top lane and setting up for the next phase.
Well, with 10 picked up, this is when the show begins. Dreadnought hit it in the analysis. He said, look, post-level 10 is where they really come online. There's no doubt about that. The VP to isolate somebody, Brightwing coming in at any given moment. We actually have the blink heal to make the plays, but the cocoon, isolating targets is the name of the game, and they have enough firepower to take out whatever target they choose. Leftovers will see if they can have the proper response, because one of those is going to be that bunker there for Polyboss.
HeroesHearth does have the ability to get that isolation, but Leftovers, if they get too isolated here on HeroesHearth, can turn around with that kill from Greymane. Here comes an arrow from across the map. Mopsio going to land the mosh pit. Greymane, though, the one to fall as HeroesHearth gets the kill, and they VP the bunker as everyone jumps out. Will they have the follow-up?
Yeah, that was very well played there. I think the Immortal actually got the stun on that mosh pit, so unfortunate. There's going to be the stun directly onto the Immortal. Here we go. Here comes some damage. Down comes the X-Strike. That's going to give it to him. Now they're looking for more. Link, can he get behind? Homicidal says, no, you cannot. It is another trade out because Brightwing ended up falling, but we did see in that picture that fort also fell in the top lane with that Shaman can't pick up.
And that is the result of a reset composition. If you find one, typically you find more. Issue trying to slow down this Immortal race on the right side here, so HeroesHearth can take away the Immortal, and they actually lose out on it. Wow.
Wow. 5.
Hanzo and Greymane. They're pretty good on this battleground.
Yeah, you know, they can do some damage, I hear. This is Fireworks. It's 7-3 in kills. But Leftovers has managed the first 2 Immortals. They also have the first 2 structures of the game down with the top and bottom fourth. The Immortal will spawn down here in the bottom lane. Not a heavy shield, so you have to be careful on how aggressive you get, because this is a team. This objective is very different. It's very early. we could get the dive behind. You can actually see a Nubrak already there in that bush, waiting to see if there's an opportunity.
What we're really seeing here and witnessing is the strength of a team fight competition versus an objective-based competition that Leftovers have. Them grabbing that camp earlier, got the fort in the top left, the fort in the bottom is already taken, so them being able to snag this away just barely gives them a keep wall. So while they might be behind in kills, they're opening up this map substantially over what HeroesHearth Esports has. The good news for HeroesHearth, late game is pretty darn insane for them. Level 16 Zeratul and Nubrak find the isolation you were talking about. They already have a plan with the VP on the bunker if they can outplay that, and they've seen what Leftovers are trying to do. Group them up on that bunker, hit a Dragon's Arrow, and then have the Mosh Pit follow up. So now that they've seen that game plan, they can adjust.
Big talent at 13 is going to be that Ancient Blessings for Link to be able to pick that up. You get isolated if Deckard's around somewhere. Maybe it's enough to keep the healing alive, but it can also be used as an offensive engagement tool. It's almost like a mini heroic, the amount of damage that it can put out. So all it takes is those auto attacks to go out. So for Leftovers, they do have very good, I think 13's probably the biggest spike when you look at Deckard in terms of what he brings to the team offensively and defensively. But as you said, HeroesHearth does feel like they have a very strong late game comparatively, because Leftovers, they have a very good early. That Hanzo post level 7, that's where he, for the map, that's where he's there. Greymane strong throughout. So it's going to be a fun one to see as this game goes on.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, look at Hanzo, you get the pierced arrows at 16, which is, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm going to go with this, stupid to play against. You walk into so many pierced arrows, nailing you, and of course hitting the Immortal at the same time. And then of course Greymane has the ability to move an alpha kill if he really wants to. I don't know if you need to go that route here in particular, especially against a competition for HeroesHearth Esports, but the idea of burning down someone based on their health is always an option for you. ETC as well finds a couple of talents at 16 that gives him either more armor, or of course he can try to slow down that back line. Lots of things available for the Leftovers too to match against what HeroesHearth Esports has, but I'm looking at McIntyre, a guy that has been an all-star for HeroesHearth Esports in their entirety of being a roster. If he gets that power to get that multiple cleave at level 16, ooh, I could see them cleaning up the Leftovers in the fight, but Leftovers at the same time trying to find the isolated pick set. If they see HeroesHearth Esports spread out a little bit too much.
The final cut plus that 16 for Zeratul, it's very frightening. You can see, get some early damage in, does HeroesHearth. They're zoning around. My favorite thing about this is Ishbu's positioning. He's constantly like, look, I'll let you guys be here. You all have mobility. Everybody there can blink or dash somewhere else. I've got my own mobility at the blink of an eye. Let's just go. Let's fight. Ishbu's actually living on the wrong side of the map right now, and he does not care.
Just sitting on the side next to the Immortal. Has those better barbs if he needs to slow down the opponent from coming in. That level 4 pickup in. He also has the added shields at level 7. So he should be fine if he needs to get out. He can call upon Brightwing. You see both teams being very cautious right now.
This positioning is weird, man.
Yeah. We need Leftovers when we step up a little bit, but they're trying to, wow, they actually hit Hami, and Blackini goes in. He goes in for the go for the throw, but the heal from BBJ at the last second. They might be able to turn this around.
Yeah, I'm surprised he lived there. Blackini, now he's in trouble. Tries to get the trade out, does not, but Hami, he's stuck in there. In comes McIntyre, trying to get some damage down, but bunker down in response, and now with the bunker down, you can see DAB trying to get out of there. Link trying to buy space. X-Strike comes down directly on, but maybe Krone overextended. He's in trouble.
Nah, he's able to start out, but at the same time, look here, we have Brightwing in trouble, and she gets power slided right underneath the Immortal, so Leftovers bite back with their own kill, so a total of 2 have been picked off as Li Ming was also destroyed. This gives an opening for Leftovers to turn around and start to race down the Immortal. But initially, I can't believe Hami lived there, and that's the strength of Brightwing. If you can get there in time, you drop a fat heal on your teammate.
I think that BBJ might have blinked in onto Krone right as he swift struck out, because I'm like, how does BBJ get there? And it's unfortunate there. Sometimes the best play sometimes will come back and bite you there. But now Leftovers, as you mentioned, with this Hanzo are coming in. I don't know if that phase shift is yet available. We'll find out momentarily as Brightwing coming in, Trick.
Yeah, I'm looking forward. It's going to be a Swift Strike. Man, 1 reset. Second one about to come in as well. But Kidney and crew trying to get out the damage here on top of the Immortal. But Hami taking a bit of a beating. He is able to cut away. But Kidney finally gets picked off. And that's going to be another reset here for Li Ming.
These blink heals are money right now. Nubrak, they're trying to track down Mopsio. Nobody got the CC in just yet. McIntyre will get the cleave. Doesn't have that 16, but 2 kills now will buy time and space for HeroesHearth. A chance for them to maybe pick up their first Immortal.
HeroesHearth really delivering on what this composition does. Get in the middle of the fight and pick a target, and everyone puts their damage on top of it. Multiple pickups coming in, and Leftovers, who are starting to win the race for the first time this game, might actually lose it to HeroesHearth, but they want to make a stand. They step in. Here's a bunker burning down Hami on the back left, but finally the Immortal will fall, and HeroesHearth gets their first of the game.
I think it's time for them to take a breath. They've got the Immortal. They've got 15 3/4. They've got a full level lead. They'll have 16 momentarily. The shield's nothing to write home about, But if they can regroup, recollect themselves with this 16, they can start to threaten a keep. It'd be very low percentage they could threaten core, but threaten keep with this style of composition and the 16 is very much a real threat, but they've got a lot to get through before they get there.
I mean, the best part for them is they've had Brightwing Global Soak throughout all these phases of the Immortal phase, and they also have not taken down any forts yet. They have an experienced lead already, so they can jump up massively here by taking down this forward, jump up to 16 3/4, and build their way towards level 20. Leftovers, on the other hand, are going to have to play the retreat game, play defensively, and clear this up with a couple of scatter arrows. So HeroesHearth, now a 16, the big power spike we were talking about moments ago, are in the commanding lead against a team that is just trying to hang in there.
Here comes Brightwing. We saw McIntyre go in, get some poke damage in. Only the keep wall down thus far, but that has amassed almost a 2-level lead. Now that goes down, it is 17 to 15. So HeroesHearth making some strong plays here in the mid game. Leftovers still has so much firepower on their side with this Hanzo and this Greymane. But Ishbu and team, they're looking for a flank here, Trick.
Ishbu gets in the bush on the right.
Well, that interrupted.
DB in trouble, gets picked off, and that's the 1. Here comes the X-Strike. The VP comes out too, but Link hoping to keep his teammates alive, put them to sleep.
Bunker down in response. That's basically a detour, so to speak, as they were able to get out of there. But that pathing, the bait there by HeroesHearth, but the interrupt on that agility by Hanzo was enough to keep him locked down midair. And the priority target, as you said already, HeroesHearth, they're looking that one target and they all in, because if they get that one, there's multiple resets, so you can directly go to another.
I mean, they bought themselves 20 seconds each time, and that will get them, what, a quarter, half HP on top of this keep. You have that mirror ball shelling away there from Hami, protect him, and you should be fine. They do need to be careful and start backing away when Hanzo spawns. That Dragon's Arrow is always something you need to be worried about, and if you suddenly get knocked into the keep range, you get that slow put on top of you, suddenly you're throwing the game. So HeroesHearth backs up, takes what they have earned, and from here we'll set up for the next Immortal phase.
HeroesHearth, they got value out of the Shaman camp during the last phase, the top-bottom position. So the defensive side, when you're looking at it from this mode, the shield is always going to be the representative of the blue team. That's the one they're defending. They're going to be attacking. So it's very interesting for Leftovers now, because they'll have to respond to this bottom lane, which is also on their offensive side. So it's an advantage for HeroesHearth, but at the same time, Leftovers has made a very good counterplay by getting not just the Shaman camp, but the Impaler camp in the top lane.
That'll push, and that will require the attention of Brightwing, but as you mentioned, that bottom lane pushing in for HeroesHearth is going to be a difficult task for Leftovers, and they don't have a global, so they have to commit to the idea of clearing that out, and they do. This will give HeroesHearth a halftime show, but now Leftovers, they gotta make the play. They gotta drive their way on in here and try to force HeroesHearth Esports to get to a tussle in the middle of the map, and they have the tools to do it. Wait for that Dragon's Arrow. It's gonna be the major thing that opens up for the Leftovers.
Well, Leftovers, they find themselves halfway down in this, which means that HeroesHearth says, wait a minute, we might be able to raise Mopsio, moving forward, trying to find an opportunity. Podyboss and team, as Blakitny goes in, swift strike out, will move away. McIntyre and Ishbu at the top right of your screen. They are flanking, looking that 16 power spike of Zeratul now online. They have to be very careful as DAB starting on this and Ishbu and team starting to make their way over.
I love how HeroesHearth is playing this. Typically when you are in this situation as the Leftovers, you put 4 on defense and you try to get either Greymane or Hanzo on top of the Immortal. But you can't pull that option off because of Zeratul and Brightwing threat jumping and turning a fight into a 2v1 in the snap of a finger. So they have to be careful. They have to group this 5 and kind of peel back and forth in this tug of war, which HeroesHearth Esports is making sure to contain. You see this big concave they've built around Leftovers, waiting for them to make a mistake.
Yeah, Hami is just poking when McIntyre last engaged onto DAB. Took him down to about 40% health by himself. You can't afford that. Nice blink out by Hami. Dragon Arrow just missing. In comes Brightwing. We might be looking for a fight as Leftovers very deep in HeroesHearth territory.
McIntyre, big cleave coming off as well. Goes in with the wormhole. The stay a while and listen will come out. There's the mosh pit. Knocking multiple members down into the Immortal. Will it knock him back? Boom! There goes Zeratul. And next will also be a Nubarak. The bunker to come out just for good measures. Leftovers trying to fight back, but suddenly Crowan is going off. There's 1 kill and there's 2.
The resets are here. Let's see if they can get more. The switch strike through. Crowan trying to stay alive. X strike over will keep him alive for now. BBJ comes in with that blink heal. You know they are looking for those resets. Did not go flow like water at 13. Instead went Shingun, so didn't quite have the capability of going back in, because that was a perfect swift strike.
I can't believe HeroesHearth was able to turn that around. Crowan able to find the big swift strike there. I felt for sure Leftovers had won that entire fight, but Leftovers, due to losing a couple move over and grab what they can on the Immortal. The good news for them, there is a fort in the top. The bad news for them is HeroesHearth is going to be pushing in a lane and building towards level 20.
The 20 is the main thing about this. See if they split maybe Brightwing off to push bottom. I think at this point, you have to full commit here. Anubarak and Zeratul still a long ways away. Hanzo with the race still works in the defensive side of things. So the aggressive part of the dive of Zeratul and Anubarak, it's absent for this push. But when this fort falls, you'll see about 19 and about 3/4, maybe a little less when this comes in. But once the towers go down on this keep wall trick, that's when 20 picks up.
Yeah, the towers will be popped off. The keep will be taking some damage too, and suddenly a repulsion comes line at level 20, and Zeratul's going to jump in there and force the fight. Leftovers are trying to make sure to clear this up, but they are also making sure they don't lose anybody. If they lose 1 to 2 members of resets, coming in from HeroesHearth could be game ending.
Gate down, sidewall down. It is all floodgates are down. HeroesHearth with 20. Will they move forward? Switch strike in, trying to make the plays. Linked with a nice response, but Greymane actually gets blown up there. Crowan in return. Dragon Arrow's going to land. X-Strike comes down right as the bunker's there. Ishbu trying to isolate one. That's going to be a second member. And right now, HeroesHearth, they're looking to close this out.
BBJ is getting so many resets on top of that polymorph. They go for a third member. DAB down as well. Only Podibus and Mobstio to stand firm here on top of the core. And they're not going to have enough damage here to take out HeroesHearth Esports. They turn around and focus down the core, and it will begin to drop. Our North American versus Europe matchup is going to result in HeroesHearth Esports getting the first win of the series.
They got off to a fast start in the kill department, but Leftovers got the first 2 Immortals of that one, but it wasn't enough for them to build a big enough lead because HeroesHearth, they stayed steady, they stayed strong, and they stayed aggressive, Trick. And when they were aggressive, that play by McIntyre, the Zeratul play, late game Zeratul, man, he's really scared.
I could still have to shut out Crowan, man. When they were in a 5v3, he had the mentality to look at that fight and say, you know what, I can still get a couple of resets in here. Goes in for 1, gets a kill, goes in for the second, then Swiss strikes out, barely escapes away from the fight, netting that Immortal for them that won them the game. Had that not occurred, Leftovers would have healed up fine. You got Decker Kane providing potions, and they would have easily taken that Immortal, and then of course started to rush down that game.
Awesome play by everybody, and we've got an awesome desk who's going to break that game down for us because it was great.
Oh, yes, it was. Kaldor asked me, but what if the Brightwing didn't work? I counter with, but what if it does?
Oh, no. When I ask you, you really just were like, oh, well, probably not. But yeah, you're allowed some gloating now.
Yes. Well,
That
now
was well
I will.
played.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Now, I'll be the bigger man here. No, but seriously, that was a phenomenal game.
Yeah.
It was so good.
And I mean, coming back to Brightwing just for a second, that one save that we saw when we saw the attack towards Liming, that was just absolutely fantastic, nearly taking Greymane down. But HeroesHearth in general, just fantastic execution. We talked about how volatile that draft can be, how you have to find these kills, and the way they dissected Leftovers was incredibly impressive.
You pretty much just have to open the fight with near, surgical precision, it feels like. And as long as you do that, you have a high probability of being able to take it from that point. And I feel like when we look at North America, we go, these compositions are the ones that fall apart the fastest. And to see HeroesHearth Esports with Homicidal here on this roster and execute that well against Leftovers, I'm very impressed here with HeroesHearth.
Well, thankfully, if you have to do surgery, a Genji Blade's a pretty good way, I would say, maybe to do that. It's at least probably pretty sharp, but I agree. The teamwork, knowing, especially a team that has been known for a long time for their synergy, that Homicidal can come in and be able to set things up for them just as much was great to see.
And I mean, you look at the composition and you have the it's not only that entire explosiveness and how fast they can kill someone, but you have a Liming and a Genji to capitalize through resets. And we saw towards the end, for example, a team fight where it didn't really look good for HeroesHearth. They lose 2 very quickly, but then the first kill gives over the reset and immediately they get an even trade out of it. So that mechanic there worked so much in their favor, and it made and broke that comp.
Yeah, and I'm going to highlight some of the advantages and some of the cool things that we saw here from HeroesHearth Esports really quickly. And the context here to keep in mind is, again, how fast they have to be able to open up these skirmishes if they, in fact, want to win. So we're going to move forward here, and we talked a little bit earlier about some of the teamwork and finding ways to work Homicidal into this squad. So I'm going to point out here really quickly that we have Homicidal coming in. Brightwing just ended up resurrecting at the top half, and she is going to look for a teleport. The biggest thing to be looking at is Crowan's positioning up here, while we see Zeratul will eventually flank into this shrub, and they all capitalize on the fact that Homicidal walks up, drops a nice wave of force, puts Linked directly into the stun, and when it's all said and done, just collapse one shot, and then great play from that point on from BBJ to make sure that the team actually gets, there's the wave of force, sorry there, and ends up getting the stun. There's a collapse with the Zeratul, kill over top of the wall. And this is what they have to do. And because of this, this is the only reason HeroesHearth can win this skirmish afterwards. BBJ, clutch heal 1, clutch heal number 2, drop himself a nice stun there, and they are able to recover. And that's why you said, when I was like, what are the problems possibly that exist with this composition? I was like, the bunker is going to be a problem. And you're going, well, the Brightwing is. Normally, Brightwing is in fact that problem if you can't do what we just saw them do right there. That was very well done by HeroesHearth.
The next problem is that HeroesHearth also had some moments where they could really capitalize on positional mistakes. You see that Deckard, and you can definitely argue that he was way too far forward. He was basically on a line with the tanks there and should have been farther in the back, which would have made it impossible to get that wave of force into the stun. So there were a couple of moments throughout the entire game like this that HeroesHearth just identified, immediately punished, and were leftovers with their composition, just simply didn't position themselves well enough or got caught.
Right. Well, we are going to have a quick word from our sponsors. After that, we'll have game 2 between Leftovers and HeroesHearth.